Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. It's Black Monday Perna. Black Monday in the NFL is the Monday following the conclusion of the regular season where a bunch of head coaches get fired. Surprisingly, the Dolphins have fired head coach Brian Flores. And I'm inclined to believe that they only did so because they thought Black Monday meant they had to fire a black head coach. They are the only organization to fire a head coach today that most people thought was doing a damn good job. There are 5 head coaching vacancies right now, with a possibility of 7 moving forward. The current vacancies are in Jacksonville, Denver, Chicago, Minnesota, Miami, potentially the Raiders, depending on whether or not they bring interim head coach Rich Bisaccia back, and Seattle, depending on what happens with Pete Carroll. Today, I'll talk about all the firings, the hot head coaching candidates, and where I think their best fit might be. Hint, it's not Jacksonville. That's good sports. Hey, there are 2 ways you can help out this channel. One is by subscribing, which is fucking free, so just do it. Also, not so free, my coffee. BenchwarmerBrew.coffee. What? BenchwarmerBrew.com. I know the URL for my own company. Craft, ethically sourced, specialty grade coffee beans. So if you're into coffee, or if you're someone who really appreciates good tasting coffee, then check it out. We've got the 5 Points blend and the Armchair blend. That's 5 Points Vids blend and Urinating Trees blend. So if you want to support us, check it out. I swear to God, if you get my coffee, you won't be disappointed. It's really better than any video I've ever made. Which may sound like I'm setting the bar low. Shit. Let's begin with a question. What's more surprising, the Dolphins firing Brian Flores or the Giants not firing Joe Judge? One thing Giants and Dolphins fans have in common today is they hate the decision makers atop their organization. That said, Giants GM Dave Gettleman announced he is retiring. That is a retire to avoid the fire move. We knew Gettleman was out anyway, so that doesn't surprise me. But keeping the head coach who ran a QB sneak on 3rd and 9, now, that takes some balls. At this point, I just have pity for Giants fans. All right, let's go to the Vikings first. They fired Mike Zimmer and GM Rick Spielman. And because of the contracts, the massively guaranteed contracts they kept giving to Kirk Cousins' job is probably safe for now. Now, Zimmer and the Vikings offense did complete an incredible feat. They had a losing record with a QB who threw more than 30 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards, a running back to go over 1,000, and a receiver to go over 1,600. Zimmer was in Minnesota for 8 seasons, while Rick Spielman was in place as the GM for twice as long, 16 years. Firing Spielman a year after George Paton leaves feels like a weird move, unless they really did not want to promote from within. Ultimately, I think Zimmer is one of the better jokes in their franchise history and got a Case Keenum-led team to the NFC Championship game. Who will be the Vikings' next head coach? Well, for a team in need of a GM and a head coach, that's a giant mystery. It's a hard guess. What I will do is name a coach or two that I think makes sense for each organization I discussed today. Not who is the lead candidate to get the job, because without a GM, you can't really have a lead candidate, can you? Now, I won't mention GMs because, let's be honest, that's boring as hell and nobody knows who will be a good GM or who even is being considered. Am I being considered to be a GM somewhere? Maybe. The only thing we know is when a GM sucks, like Trent Baalke. We all know Trent Baalke sucks. Right now, here's the list, the massive list of coaches who could be interviewed for any of the current vacancies. Eric Bieniemy, Chiefs OC. Josh McDaniels from the Patriots. Brian Dable from the Bills. Brian Flores, Byron Leftwich from the Bucks, Greg Roman, the man who can fix any limp offense from the Ravens, Nathaniel Hackett from the Packers, Doug Peterson, Vic Fangio even, Kellen Moore from the Cowboys, Leslie Frazier from the Bills, Matt Eberflus from the Colts, Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, Don Martindale, Todd Bowles, Jerod Mayo, Raheem Morris, Vance Joseph, and Chief Special Teams Coach Dave Toub's name is getting knocked around again. Now, Vikings fans want an offensive-minded head coach. I get it. But the Vikings offense was not bad. 25 points per game was a 0.1 point less than the 49ers, and they averaged more points per game than the Titans, Seahawks, Ravens, and Raiders. Two teams who made the playoffs and one near playoff team. Their defense allowed 25.1 points per game, which should shed light on how infuriating their season must have been for Vikings fans. If this really is the year Eric Bieniemy gets the head coaching job, I think he might be a nice fit for Minnesota. Tons of talent to work with on offense, and we get him out of the AFC West. I know he's not an offensive guy, but I also think Todd Bowles is an underrated coach and the steady leader a team like the Minnesota Vikings could benefit from having. The Chicago Bears, they fire Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. One reason Nagy was fired? Well, as you can see here, it's that he creeped out NFL officials by the way he looked at them while talking way too close to their faces. A classic close talker. It feels like we do forget a little bit that Matt Nagy twice took the Bears to the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky. He was a really bad head coach in 2021, but overall, I don't think he was as bad as people think he is or want him to be. The same could be said for Mike Zimmer. And I think Bears and Vikings fans might find out that it can be even worse. Now, I think Nagy is probably waiting for Eric Bieniemy to get offered a head coaching gig, so Nagy can just go back to Kansas City and thrive under Andy Reid again. Ryan Pace is out as GM as well, so Bears fans have more reason than ever to be optimistic. I do not think Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett is going to go to a division rival. So for Chicago, my best fit is Brian Daboll, Bills offensive coordinator. He worked wonders with Josh Allen, and maybe he can do the same for Justin Fields forever. And so far, the Bears have requested to interview Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier, who has done a tremendous job with the Bills defense. Plus, he used to play for the Bears, so it makes a lot of sense. And I think Frazier, probably one of the better coaching candidates flying under the radar right now. And if his first head coaching stint with the Vikings says anything, it's that he's going to be really good at helping the Bears win games, because he let the Bears do that a lot when he was in Minnesota. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, urban decay ended long ago in Jacksonville, and we have known they would be looking for a new head coach since the moment Urban opted for extramarital denim-on-denim action instead of traveling home with his team after a loss. Right now, Jacksonville has a head start on the coaching interview process, and the coaches who will be entertaining the idea of taking the reins in Jacksonville are Bill O'Brien, current Bama OC, Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, and Buccaneers offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich. All those guys have scheduled interviews with the Jags. Now, my best guess is guys like Hackett, Moore, and Leftwich are using the Jaguars as their practice interview so that they will be fully prepared for the interview with the team they actually want to coach for. Honestly, I think Leftwich or Hackett are good fits for the Jags. Now, Hackett was fired mid-season last time he was in Jacksonville, but that was apparently Doug Marrone's call, so maybe that's why he would go back. Give me Leftwich, though, with the great opportunity to work with Trevor Lawrence. If there's a reason a coach wants to go to Jacksonville, it's Trevor Lawrence. And I know everyone will hate this, but Bill O'Brien with no GM powers might be okay. Oh, no, stop. Please don't murder me in the comments, Jags fans, for saying that. Please. I don't wish Bill O'Brien on you, but he's an all right head coach. He's an all right coach. Now, the Broncos made the first post-regular season firing on Sunday with Vic Fangio. Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football stated that Denver is not an appealing destination, and maybe the least appealing because of fucking Mahomes and fucking Herbert and fucking Carr. If a head coach is scared of playing good quarterbacks, he's a bad coach. Do you think Pat Surtain is scared of either of those guys? The Broncos do a better job against Herbert and Mahomes than just about anybody. That's why my top choice is Nathaniel Hackett. But I talked about Denver in great detail in this video already, so check that out if you want. Denver has requested permission to interview Patriots linebackers coach Jerod Mayo. Again, I am fine with this hiring, but only if they bring in former Broncos tight end Chad Mustard as tight ends coach. Then I'll have Mustard and Mayo, a delicious, perfect combo where nothing could go wrong. Now, Broncos fans are already screaming, no, no, no to Jerod Mayo because he coaches on the defensive side of the football, and I get that. Broncos fans are tired of great defense and still finding unique ways to lose games because their offense sucks. All I will say is this: just because a coach cut his teeth on the defensive side of the ball doesn't mean he can't be a good head coach. Really, what's important for the Broncos, besides finding the head coach and a quarterback, they need a quarterback, is finding a good offensive coordinator to pair with their head coach. If you've got a good leader at head coach and you get a good offensive coordinator, then you might have a good offense. It's okay if the next head coach is a defensive guy. It really is. And my Denver Broncos GM George Payton is requesting to interview all the coaches we want: Nathaniel Hackett, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn, and Eric Bieniemy. Get 'em, Georgie boy, get 'em. And I know, it seems a little bit crazy for the Raiders to move on from their current interim coach in Rich Bisaccia, but according to Ian Rappaport, Jim Harbaugh is emerging as a real candidate for the Raiders coaching job. And now Broncos fans are pretty freaking terrified that Jim Harbaugh will reunite with Vic Fangio and go to the Raiders and continue to murder the Broncos. Getting swept by the Raiders with Vic Fangio only to continue to get swept by the Raiders with Vic Fangio? No, please God, no. Don't do it. All right, the Carolina Panthers did not fire head coach Matt Rule.
Bringing him here to be the starter, knowing that if he had a great year, that he would be a high price guy, and if he's a starter at that number, that's low end starter money. So that was a decision made. It was a collective decision, and I can't have much more to say other than that, to be honest with you.
And the boldest move of the day: Brian Flores is finished in Miami. The most surprising move: the Dolphins fire Brian Flores. Oh, what are we doing? What are we doing, Miami? Brian Flores might be the only head coach who was fired who gets another head coaching job in this hiring cycle. Now that's going to be up to Flores, who I think might benefit from marinating for a year or two as a defensive coordinator. The Bears, the Broncos, the Vikings, maybe Raiders if they do decide to move on from Rich Bisaccia. Those could be appealing destinations, but like the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Bears are currently teams that have huge question marks at QB. Great organizations, but Flores should, in my opinion, wait until a job with a very good quarterback becomes available. Maybe Seattle in a week. Now, Deshaun Watson wanted to go to Miami to be with Brian Flores, per Ian Rappaport. Now, maybe Flores didn't want Watson, and that's where the unfixable rift between Flores and GM Greer emerged. I think the Chicago Bears are actually a really good fit for Brian Flores. The Bears' defense is the strength of their team, and with their porous offensive line, they are basically the Dolphins of the North. So I bet Flores would feel comfortable there. Now, Flores led back-to-back winning seasons for the Dolphins for the first time since 2000-2001. More impressively, the Dolphins had 3 straight wins against the Patriots, and swept them this year. Albeit it was the Cam Newton and Mac Jones-led Patriots, but still. GM Chris Grier sucks at his job. Not only did he fire a man many believe to be a very good head coach, but he fired a good head coach in a year that there are going to be a ton of coaching vacancies to fill, making his chances to hire the right guy about as probable as Dan Marino's chances of winning a Super Bowl. Sorry, Dolphins fans. That dude should not be making decisions for an NFL franchise. Flores was the best thing to happen to the Dolphins since they beat the Patriots on that miracle play where Gronk was playing safety. And probably the best thing since Dan Marino before that. He's a good head coach who Dolphins fans are certainly pissed to see go. Basically the opposite of the way Broncos, Bears, and Vikings fans feel this very day when they heard their head coaches had been fired. That's the whole reason you fire a head coach. To trick your loyal fan base into believing better days are ahead, not behind you, and that's what the Dolphins just did. If I had to pick a fit for the Dolphins though, I'm leaning towards Eric Bieniemy, or dare I say Doug Peterson. Both would probably take the job, and both could possibly help the Dolphins' struggling offense. If Miami will be in on Deshaun Watson, I think Bieniemy might be the guy to bring in. And not just because he's a very good offensive coordinator, but because Eric Bieniemy, he was at CU when they had all of their recruiting and sexual assault scandals back in the 90s. And to me, that sounds like a magical fit for Deshaun Watson. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Yes, I posted this coaching episode first, but best and worst of the NFL regular season finale will be up tonight, so make sure you come back to watch all of the greatest plays and worst plays from the weekend.